guys, I be thesampleman, and welcome to a video I'm entitling My Life. And it is basically going to be that. It's been a video I've been really wanting to do the last few years, and I really never felt like I was ready to share my life journey or share any stories about me in videos. And I know a lot of Let's Players do that during their videos, and it helps build that relationship. I just never felt really comfortable doing it, and now I feel comfortable, you know? I feel like I've matured in the last couple of years where I feel really comfortable putting myself out there and just sort of help people know that they're not alone in certain stuff that they're dealing with, good, bad, or indifferent. Because I've been through a lot of good, a lot of bad, and a lot of indifferent things. But really, the big impetus to start this video series was Prince Harlequin's 250 subscriber special, which really is an amazing video series. You guys should go watch it because it details his journey into why he loves video games as much as he did and how video games helped him in his life. And it's an amazing watch. It does get into some heavy subject matter. I will warn you guys about that. It does get into that, but it's an amazing watch, and it really helps because he showed that he's not the only person. He's showing other people that he's not that you're not the he's been there, and that he could help a lot of people. And I feel like I want to sort of give back a little bit because really I want to sort of get myself out there and share my life journey a little bit with you. I mean, I'm not going to say everything in my life, but the highlights, the lowlights, and a few things in between. There'll be some stuff you'll be like, "Oh my God, really?" And there'll be stuff like, "Oh, I feel sorry," or I'm really glad for you. I don't know how you're going to take it. But I really hope that you guys, really give it a listen. And I feel like this will be an interesting listen, hopefully. I mean, I feel like I'm not much different from a lot of people. But, who knows? You never know how this video will get a reaction. So, without further ado, I'm going to start with basically my childhood. I'll start about 2 to 11. So, basically, the first major event in my life was basically it's more of a small thing. I basically fell into a wall and cracked my head wide open when I was like 2 years old. And I still have this scar, even to today, right across my forehead. I had like 16, 18 stitches outside my head and like 4 or 5 inside. I was 1/4 inch from breaking my nose, 1/4 inch from cracking my skull wide open. That was the first major thing in my life. I don't remember it, obviously, because you're too young to remember anything at that age. So really the first major thing that I can remember is basically my young life, where I grew up in a Detroit suburb, an upper middle class, Detroit suburb. Basically, in a pretty well-to-do area. Nowadays, a lot of celebrities live there, and not a lot of celebrities, but celebrities do live in that area. I won't say who or what. But I grew up in that, and really I was outside daily. Most of my young life I was outside constantly, and I think you guys can sort of see it with games like Donkey Kong Country or any of that stuff because I don't 100% games. And you can see it as a product of that. I tend to race video games. I want to go through games and enjoy myself and have fun, not 100%ing, because really I didn't 100% games because I never really had the time to do that because I was always outside. From the moment I got home from school to dark time, I was outside every day, even in snow. Uh, though in rain I didn't go outside much. That was gaming time. Rain was gaming time. Snow, I was outside having freaking snowball fights, man. That's part of the perks of living in Michigan. You gotta go out and have snowball fights. But yeah, I mean, it was a thing. I got to grow up that way. And then, during the summer, it was, I got a little bit of taste of small town living. I had a cottage on the Lake Huron shoreline, and, over the summer we were there constantly. And really, I didn't have video games up there, so I was outside playing baseball or any of that other stuff, or swimming. I would swim for hours in Lake Huron, walk the beach, do other things, and really it was a small town we had a cottage near, so it was really quiet and relaxing, stress free. And then you come back to the suburbs in the hustle and bustle, and that's basically how I grew up. It was pretty stress free. I grew up with my grandmother. Uh, I never knew my grandfather on my mom's side. This is my mom's side, my mom's mother. So I never knew my grandfather from that side because he died way too early. Uh, she moved in before I was born, so I grew up basically with my grandmother, my mother, and my father in the same house. And eventually my sister came, and uh, you know, uh, basically my grandmother was my second mother. Whenever my mom was working or doing whatever, like going bowling on Monday nights, my grandmother would babysit, or she was always there. So that's part of my life story because really I got a taste of old school, getting brought up old school, like from the 50s, 60s era, and then when I was brought up. So it was two different styles, and really contrasted really nicely. Basically, I'm 3 years older than my sister, and we're very close. I mean, you know, we're very close. Uh, and I've had a dog all my life. Basically, except for 2 years, I've had a dog. It was some Shelties, a mixed breed, and a beagle who constantly barks. I don't know if you hear him right now. Oh my god. All right, but yeah, that's that sort of stuff. And I even grew up with my uncle in the house. Like when I was about 9 to about 11, he had to stay in the basement because of he had some money issues and lost a lot of stuff. So he had to stay in. He stayed with us in the basement for a couple years until he could get on his feet. And we got really close. My uncle and basically my uncle and my ma were really close, and by proxy, we got really close, especially with certain cousins. Um, and really, that's about what I want to say about my childhood up to that point. Really, it was really a gathering and a really close knit, and really a lot of us got really close. And my uncle eventually moved out to an apartment on 8 Mile, which is obviously the famous road that Eminem grew up on or near, and yeah, that he had an apartment down there. Sometimes it was kind of scary to go down there. I won't lie, but yeah. So that's what happened. And then we got to my sixth grade year, which is 11 to 12 years old. I didn't go to a traditional school, in a traditional school setting. I went to one of the best school systems in the state of Michigan, the second biggest public school in a school system in the state of Michigan, so, one of the best school systems in the state. And that basically, I was still in elementary school in sixth grade. Our school system differed in that kindergarten through sixth was still elementary, seventh through ninth was junior high, and 10th through 12th was high school. So, still in the elementary school. So, sixth grade, which you would typically consider middle school for most people around the country, was the year that my grandmother that was living with us was diagnosed with cancer. And she underwent radiation treatments. And that lasted for a while. And they kept telling her that, she was gonna beat it, etc., etc. And we all believed that. And, we kept living life like normal. And that it failed, basically. And found out that she was terminal, and basically she didn't want to go to a nursing home or anything, and she wanted to stay home, and we let her stay home, which was our house. So found that out about September, October. All right. So basically, I watched her die daily. And it was a difficult thing because, watching someone puke out their guts or, just unmentionable things I've saw. And it was difficult. Definitely. So that progressed. Saw and heard things that you typically don't hear, and she died in January of sixth grade year, like eight days before my birthday. So that was a difficult part of my life because we were really close. So that was a defining moment in my life. It's what made me me. Because I'd never wanted to fail, to prove her right. But I did go through some counseling for it, and it really helped. But yeah, you just push everyone away when you get to that point. And that's sort of what I did. And it's not the best thing to do. Definitely talking about it helps, and the counselors were really good, and talking about it really helped, and we got through that. All right, so I knew I was gonna get like this when I decided to make these videos. So or videos. I haven't decided that yet. And see, every time I get really super emotional or something like that is when I start, making the stupid voices. Yeah, that's my defense mechanism, or just trying to make someone laugh. That's my defense mechanism for feeling, down. So, yeah, that's another little insight. But yeah, so that year was pretty negative, and I mean, really, the rest of the year after that, sort of went by, and everything started feeling normal again, as normal as it could be. And so I'm going to skip to 7th grade year. And 7th grade year was different. It was different. It was where I found out a lot about me. And it's also the year where I start, hitting, the old puberty thing. And it's had a profound impact upon my life because it's because I found out that I like both guys and gals. Yeah, I am bi. And I know people are going to go, "Oh my god, what?" But yeah, it is what it is, and that is me. And it's taken a long time to really embrace it and really come to terms with it. But I've known for a very long time. So that's a thing. I know that I've known for a very long time, and it I really hope that everyone, doesn't click off on the video right now and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm unsubscribing! Oh my god!" I really hope that isn't the case, because I'm still the same person. I've always been this way. For the last 6 years, everyone's really been really accepting and really nice to me, and I hope that continues. But yeah, that's me. And that year, I found it out. Well, I kind of already knew, when you're checking out, your best friend at the time, and he's a blonde guy, Oh man, I know this is difficult to talk about because I've just recently came out about it to family. So it's a new thing for me. And I sort of, after hiding it for a while, it's a tough thing to talk about. But yeah, that's me. And that was that year. That was that year for me. That was that year where I found out a lot about myself, and it was really difficult. But it was really fruitful as well, because I still went out on dates with chicks. It was amazing. It was just, it was a really confusing time in my life. And it's a difficult thing to come to terms with. On to page 2 of the bullet points. Again, defense mechanism, initiate. So, 8th grade. Alright, so, one last thing, 7th grade, I also kind of used my sense of humor for the very first time. I really let my sense of humor come out fully. And I just made jokes and made fun of everything. I made, the stupid impressions. I would talk like a girl like this, even back then, but it was even lower and squeakier because I hadn't went through that yet. Basically, this voice is what it always was. But yeah, I made impressions. I could used to do the Nelson Muntz voice, really well, and it it definitely showed in my yearbook. I still have the yearbook, and I still read through the comments every so often. I'm like, oh my god, seriously, I did that shit? Yeah, I did that shit. But yeah, that was. I definitely left an impression on a few people in that year. And I'm happy about it. But 8th grade. Alright, so. Alrighty, 20 minutes. Alright, damn. But 8th grade. Basically, we thought everything would go normally. And then my cousin fell off of a horse down in Florida. And she was diagnosed with brain cancer in my 8th grade year. And though we weren't close in terms of distance, we were close in terms of family ties. And I had remembered, my cousin taking me on a horse when I went down to Florida, or driving in a go-kart in Florida. And she was the one that did that. And she died of it. Not quick, but not slow. Or, not quick, but not slow either. And I really went into that angsty depression because of it. It was my angsty year. That was that year where you get really angsty. Yeah, that was that year for me. And that didn't help it. And I thank God every day, because I had an amazing teacher that year who was amazing and would listen and really cared. And it's Miss Boobin. I don't know what her, married name is now, but that's what it was back in the day. And God, she was such a great teacher. Just, I would talk about it, and she would be a receptive, listening teacher. And that's the most amazing thing, is that I had the most amazing teachers at the times I needed the most amazing teachers. And I could never thank her enough, because she was great. But yeah, I also made a sock puppet show for that class, which she signed in my yearbook, in my 8th grade yearbook. I'll never forget it, because I can read it every day. She goes, because we did this, we had to do presentations, and any sort of presentation that we wanted for a certain subject. I don't even remember what the subject was, but I did a sock puppet show. Basically hid behind the teacher's desk and did 2 sock puppets, and had googly eyes and shit on it. And I was talking about it. And I never practiced anything or any of that stuff. I sort of went off memory. And there was a sock puppet show, and one sock I stuffed like 2 other socks inside of it, and I called it Mr. Fat Sock, and he was teaching about all this other stuff. And then there was the normal one, and she wrote down, because it was met with uproarious laughter, because I that's how I do things. And she wrote in the yearbook, Mr. Fat Sock will be burned in my memory forever. And it really meant a lot, because it was the stupidest thing. I still remember it too. It was hilarious. There was also that, going back to the angsty thing, there was also a class I hated in 8th grade. It was the speech class. And I made a speech entitled, in speech class, Why I Hate Speech Class. And guess what I nicknamed the teacher that taught that class? I called her Satan. So you can tell what I thought of that class and the teacher itself, herself. And I look back at it and I